Fake news, alternative facts, reliable sources. These terms are thrown around a lot lately, but what do they mean and why do they exist?
You know, in some ways, fake news doesn't even exist because it's an oxymoron. If it's fake, it's not news.
In its premise, it's completely inaccurate.
It gets spread around a lot without really any thought or fact-checking.
Sometimes it comes with some sort of political agenda, and it'll always come from probably a source online that isn't real.
Fake news right now is not necessarily news that's inaccurate, but it's news that people don't really like hearing.
When you start equating a message you don't like with falsehood, that's very dangerous because it starts to erode reality.
Real news is source. Real news follows the truth wherever it goes. It has attributions, number of sources.
You know, if you look in an actual credible newspaper story, you're going to have people quoted in a way that a lot of times you can, you know, find a source for that quote, whether it was a public meeting or a public record.
Real news, it's based on facts, on people that you interview. It's based on careful research where you get facts and you balance them out with different opinions, especially expert opinions, people who know what they're talking about.
Real news is a story that's covered that actually happened, and it's covered with the authentic interest of actually reporting the events as they occurred, giving background so that the viewer can understand it, and doing your best to give justice to that particular story.
Morning paper, morning star. Paper, mister?
So fake news and alternative facts are widespread, but why is it dangerous?
The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. And it's not an American problem. This is not about Russian ads. This is a global problem. So we are in a really bad state of affairs right now, in my opinion. It is eroding the core foundations of how people behave by and between each other. And I don't have a good solution.
If we are not serious about facts and what's true and what's not, and particularly in an age of social media where so many people are getting their information in sound bites and snippets off their phones. If we can't discriminate between serious arguments and propaganda, then we have problems.
On the worst case scenario, you could stigmatize somebody to the extent that they are seen as a threat to the community, and they are people take action in their own hands and try to eliminate these people. Fake news, by playing up a danger of a group of people, that could lead those people to be in danger.
What if we stop to think about the consequence of the information that we pass on and its potential to incite violence or hatred? What if we stop to think about the real-life consequences of the information that we share?
It's dangerous in swaying not only public opinion, but also, more dangerous, swaying public policy.
That is the challenge right there, explaining why we do what we do. Democracy demands media literacy, And this particular moment in time demands a serious investment by newsrooms and by tech giants like Facebook and Google, an investment in news literacy.
With the prevalence of social media and how quickly news can be shared, everyone has a responsibility to stop the spread of fake news. But how can you spot fake news?
These bogus sites are not going away. So all of us have a responsibility to triple check before we share links.
But check what? The International Federation of Library Associations and Institutes recommends you consider the source, read beyond the headline, check the author. Does it supply supporting sources? Check the date. Find out if it's a joke. Check your biases. And ask the experts.
So I worked for the Dickinson Press in Dickinson, North Dakota, and I had someone, a coworker, that come up to me one day and asked me, "Hey, Sydney, did you hear about this story in Dunn County, which is just to the north of us? It's in our coverage zone." And she said, that there's this big accident and these 2 moms died and a bunch of kids died. So I started looking into it, and she had sent me the link. It was from a source that I had never seen before. I think it was like countynews.info. So the more I looked into it, the quicker I found that it was fake. And even Googling the names of the fathers who were trying to save their loved ones, it immediately came up with other stories around like the same premise that these people had died, but it was in other counties. So it was a tip that was fake.
So much active misinformation. And it's packaged very well, and it looks the same when you see it on a Facebook page or you turn on your television.
I think about that personally as a journalist, is the challenge to go beyond the headlines, right? And I try and read the newspaper all the way to the last graph, do the jump page for anybody who still reads the hard copy of the newspaper like I do.
I think the other concern about social media is that it can lead to what you would call echo chambers. So an echo chamber is where I self-select my friends on Facebook and Twitter, and so these people tend to be more like-minded than otherwise would be. And so you can kind of create a very tailored, curated news stream as opposed to a newspaper. Whereas before, or even today, if I subscribe to a newspaper, I might not like everything that appears in that paper, but it's adjacent to what I do like, and so as a result, I'll be exposed to multiple perspectives within the constraints of a newspaper. But on social media, you get to self-select what stories, so it's almost like a newspaper has been tailored directly for you, and so I'll only get, let's say, the liberal stuff or the very conservative stuff, and that will lead to this like feedback system where I'm not hearing a diverse range of perspective.
This illustrates to me the deadly danger of fake news. So what can we do about it? We are the ones who share the content. We are the ones who share the stories online. In this day and age, we're all publishers, and we have responsibility. In my job as a journalist, I check, I verify. I trust my gut, but I ask tough questions. Why is this person telling me the story? What do they have to gain by sharing this information? Do they have a hidden agenda? I really believe that we must all start to ask tougher questions.
So how do journalists and original reporting counteract fake news and uncover the truth? How do media organizations keep the trust of readers and viewers?
We need local newspapers to help us understand our own communities better. Ask anyone in North Dakota what newspaper they read, and I'll guarantee it's their hometown paper.
I had a woman, kind of a friend of mine, who called me one day and said, "Have you heard the rumors?" There had been a SWAT team that had come into a rural area outside of one of our communities and performed an exercise. So to the public driving by, it looked like, oh my gosh, what happened here? And apparently the rumor was that she and her husband were growing pot in their tree rows, and that there had been a huge raid on their farm. But we were able to, tell people about, how long the event was planned, what they found, what they learned, who was all involved, and it was an easy way to dispel any of those stories that were impacting her family and the community.
Facts are facts. They aren't colored by emotion or bias. They are indisputable. There is no alternative to a fact. Facts explain things, what they are, how they happen. Facts are not interpretations. Once facts are established, opinions can be formed. And while opinions matter, they don't change the facts. The News Media Alliance recommends these 3 steps before sharing. Stop and read before sharing. Search the headline on Google. Subscribe to quality journalism and trusted news sources. With the prevalence of fake news, many fact-checking sites have been developed to assist people in determining the truth.
I think, first of all, you have to understand where you're getting your news from. I mean, one of the most important things that you can do is probably get your news from your local newspaper.
More people were questioning and calling out the things they see that are false. You know, it's powerful. That's how it's getting on there in the first place, is one share at a time, one comment at a time. So if more of us were calling out the things that we see are false, it would help.
I mean, half the time, all of these things, all it takes to figure out whether it's real or not is to take the headline and Google it and watch all of the results come up saying it's a hoax.
As the attacks on the press have increased in the past several months, I hope North Dakotans remember the value of North Dakota reporters to making our state and our communities stronger, safer places. Local newspapers seek out truth and justice by holding all of us accountable and opening our eyes. And in a free society, that's something we should all stand for and stand by.
It's hard to earn back trust once you lose it from your readership, and I just don't think that's really worth sacrificing in any way.
There has never been a more exciting, exhausting, and dangerous time to be an investigative journalist.
I think that these are challenging times, but also potentially optimistic times and powerful times, in the sense that journalists today, whether they're established journalists, aspiring journalists, have an opportunity to redefine what it is that journalists do.
As a newspaper, I think for all journalists, whatever medium that you're in, what the advent of fake news is requiring is that we step up our game and that we do a much better job. Not that we were doing a poor job before, but that we are absolutely certain that we have facts locked down before we're publishing things.
As Americans, our First Amendment rights ensure our access to information, while the rise of social media allows our engagement and contribution to the news. However, with these freedoms and abilities comes a responsibility for individuals and media organizations to examine our sources, think critically, and share responsibly to ensure the truth remains visible for all of us.